My name is Wyatt. I am 25 years old. I moved into my brother's apartment after he disappeared without a trace. A few months ago, I moved into my brother's apartment after he vanished. I don't mean that metaphorically. He literally disappeared. No calls, no note, no body, just silence and a locked apartment. It was April when the calls stopped. Josh, my older brother by 2 years, had been living in Chicago for the past 3 years. We weren't exactly close, but we weren't distant either. We texted every week or so, mostly memes and the occasional "you good?" kind of stuff. He was a software engineer, lived alone in a quiet building near Hyde Park, had a few friends, no known enemies, and was the kind of guy who always paid his bills on time. And then, he ghosted everyone. At first, I thought maybe he just wanted space, but after 2 weeks without a single response, even our mom started calling me. In tears. Police got involved. They did a wellness check, found his apartment locked from the inside, no sign of forced entry, no blood, nothing out of place, just his phone sitting on the nightstand like he'd set it down before going to bed and never woke up. No signs of a struggle, no withdrawal from his bank. His car was still in the garage. Gone. Like he'd been erased. I flew out from Denver to handle his stuff. Mom couldn't do it. She said the idea of stepping into his apartment felt like walking into a grave. I didn't blame her. The landlord gave me a spare key after confirming I was next of kin. I still remember the chill that ran down my spine when I slid it into the lock for the first time. The apartment was clean, almost too clean. My brother wasn't a neat freak, but the place looked like it had been staged for a real estate listing. Couch perfectly fluffed, TV off, mail stacked on the kitchen counter, one plate in the drying rack. No dust. Like he had just stepped out to grab coffee and never came back. I stayed in a hotel that night, but the next day, something pushed me to spend time inside the apartment. It felt wrong to let it sit like a museum exhibit. I started packing boxes, clothes, books, the Star Wars Blu-rays I got him for Christmas 2 years ago. I found his favorite hoodie balled up in the hamper and couldn't bring myself to wash it. That first week was uneventful. I called his job. HR said they were shocked and saddened, but had already replaced him. His friends were just as confused as we were. Nobody knew anything. Nobody had seen him. I started sleeping on the couch. That's when things got weird. The first strange thing happened on night 5. I was half asleep, curled up under a throw blanket, when I heard a sound, soft and low, like a voice murmuring through the walls. I thought maybe it was the neighbors. I pressed my ear to the drywall. Nothing. I checked the hallway. No one. Apartment was sealed tight. I went back to the couch. 2 hours later, I woke up to find every light in the apartment turned on. I don't sleepwalk. I'm a light sleeper. There's no way I did it myself. Still, I convinced myself it was just stress. My mind playing tricks, grief, trauma, too much caffeine, all that. But then I found the notebook. It was wedged behind Josh's desk, half hidden under the filing cabinet. A little black moleskine with no title on the front, just pages of my brother's handwriting, fast, messy, and scared. The first few pages were normal, work to-do lists, a reminder to cancel his gym membership, shopping notes. Then, out of nowhere, I think someone's been in the apartment while I'm at work. Not a burglar, nothing's missing, but things are different, moved. I stopped cold. I kept reading. The picture frame on the dresser tilted to the left, the remote under the couch when I always leave it on the coffee table, my cereal box turned around backwards. Who does that? It's like someone studying me. The entries became more erratic after that. I woke up last night and the shower was running, full blast, bathroom door locked from the inside, had to unscrew the handle to open it. No one there. 3 days ago, I left a piece of tape on the outside of my front door, just a tiny bit, folded over so it would stick out. When I came back from work, it was gone, replaced with a new one. Who even thinks to do that? I don't think this is just stalking. I think someone's testing me, watching how I react. Then, the final page. If I disappear, check under the floorboard in the bedroom closet. I couldn't put it anywhere else. My stomach turned. I didn't hesitate. I went straight to the bedroom closet, pushed aside a stack of shoes, and pried at the floorboard near the corner. The wood was loose. I wedged a screwdriver underneath and popped it up. Inside was a Ziploc bag containing a flash drive and a small plastic card. The card looked like an employee badge, but there was no name, just a logo. A silver trianglo inside a black circle. No writing, no magnetic strip. I had never seen anything like it before. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop. It contained a single video file. The video was shaky, like it had been recorded with a phone camera. It showed Josh sitting at his kitchen table, pale and nervous. "This is for Wyatt," he said. "If I am gone, you need to listen." I froze. Josh glanced over his shoulder as if someone might be watching. "I've been going to a place," he said. "It's not a clinic. It's not official. It's called The Threshold. I didn't tell anyone about it because I signed an NDA, but they knew things about me. Personal things. I thought they were just another startup, some wellness tech experiment." He rubbed his face. "They gave me tests. Personality diagnostics, reaction monitoring. Then they offered me a chance to be part of their perception study. Said it would involve memory enhancement, lucid dreaming, all safe. I signed the contract. I was broke. I thought it was real research." He looked directly at the camera. "It's not." He leaned in closer. "The study is a front. I don't know what they really do, but ever since I went in for my third session, I've been seeing things. Rooms that shift, people standing still for hours. I've woken up in places I don't remember going. I found pictures on my phone that I didn't take. If you're watching this, I probably pushed too far." He held up the black triangle badge. "They said this opens the way back, but I think it does more than that. If you find this, don't go looking for them. Promise me." The video cut off. I sat there in silence for what felt like forever. My brother hadn't just vanished. He'd been pulled into something. Something secret. Something dangerous. The next day I started digging into The Threshold. Nothing came up. No website, no business registry, no LinkedIn employee point at Algi. But that logo, the triad to notice it in odd places. Graffiti on a street sign, a sticker on a payphone, a tiny symbol etched into the corner of an ad at the bus stop. Like it was hiding in plain sight. And then, the real kicker. A letter arrived in the mail. No return address. Just a white envelope with my brother's name on the front. But inside, a note, typed. One sentence. "Your brother knew when to stop. Will you?" I read that note 100 times, as if the words would rearrange themselves into something less terrifying. "Your brother knew when to stop. Will you?" There was no signature, no address, just a plain piece of printer paper folded in thirds. Whoever sent it had my location. They knew I'd found Josh's apartment. They knew I was digging, and they wanted me to back off. But the message had the opposite effect. I spent the next 2 days going down every rabbit hole I could find, every triangle and a circle symbol I saw on light poles or subway walls, I photographed. I wandered neighborhoods I'd never stepped foot in before, looking for patterns, looking for something. What was the threshold? What was this badge? What the hell had Josh gotten involved in? I went through his emails, his messages, his bank statements. And then I found it. An Uber trip from 4 weeks before his disappearance. It was the last charge on his card. The drop-off location? A warehouse on the south side, abandoned industrial zone, no businesses listed. It was a start. I drove out there the next night. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I had the badge in my pocket, just in case. The warehouse looked dead from the outside. Chain link fence, cracked pavement. The kind of place where you expect to find spray cans and broken bottles. But I wasn't alone. There were fresh tire marks in the dirt. A faint humming sound, like machinery running deep underground. And the logo, right on the side door, triangle in a circle. Someone had spray painted it in gray, so faint it was almost invisible, unless you caught the light just right. I walked up to the door, heart hammering, and tried the handle. Locked. I pulled out the badge and held it near the metal plate by the door. Click. The lock released. I stepped inside. The inside wasn't what I expected. It was clean. Cold white lights lined the ceiling. The floors were polished. A hallway stretched forward with branching doors, all unmarked. There were cameras mounted on the corners, tiny black eyes that silently followed me. I started walking. First few rooms were empty. Airs. Projector. One had a mirror stretching from wall to wall. Another had just a single chair in the center of the room, bolted to the floor. I passed a door with a soft blue glow around the frame. Unlike the others, it had a number, A13. Inside, I found something that made my blood freeze. Pictures. Hundreds of them. Tacked to the walls, stacked in files, digital scans on glowing monitors. Faces. Names. Details. Sleep schedules, medical histories, social media habits. And my brother Josh was in multiple folders. Headshots, side profiles, psychological summaries. Subject, J. Reynolds. Tier yellow, perception. Compatibility high. Memory test results above threshold. Status, transferred on. I didn't know what transferred meant, but I had a bad feeling about it. I took out my phone and snapped as many pictures as I could before I heard the footsteps. Fast. Approaching. I ducked back into the hallway and ran. I heard a voice behind me.
Subject active. Tier escalation authorized.
I didn't wait to find out what that meant. I sprinted down the hall, turned left, then right until I was completely lost. I found an emergency exit and shoved it open, alarms screaming behind me. I ran until my lungs gave out. When I made it back to the apartment, I didn't sleep. The next morning, a black sedan was parked across the street. Same one I'd seen near the warehouse. 2 guys inside. They didn't move. I took a gamble and walked toward them. They drove away. Not fast, just smooth and casual. Like they wanted me to know they weren't in a rush. Like they'd be back. That day I called in a favor from a friend of mine, Alethea, a tech-savvy hacker type I'd known since high school. She lived in Milwaukee now, but we used to play games together online, and I knew she dabbled in stuff that pushed legal boundaries. She owed me one. When I showed her the badge and the pictures I took, she looked terrified. "This isn't just some startup thing, Wyatt. This looks classified." "What does transferred mean?" I asked. She shook her head. "Either someone changed his identity, scrubbed him from every record, or worse." "Worse how?" "Removed," she whispered. "As in he doesn't exist anymore, not even on paper." She agreed to help me dig. Said she'd stay off-grid while she worked. That was 5 days ago. And then last night, she stopped responding. Her number disconnected. Her social media accounts gone. No trace. Just like Josh. The next morning, I got a knock on the door. I opened it to find a woman in a gray suit and sunglasses standing in the hall. "Wyatt Reynolds?" "Yeah." She handed me an envelope. "This is a cease and desist. You're being monitored. Terminate your inquiries or suffer consequences." "Who are you with?" "Doesn't matter." She turned and walked down the hallway, calm as anything. When I opened the envelope, it wasn't legal documents. It was a single photo. Me, taken from above, through the window. I was asleep on the couch. In the corner of the image was the logo. Triangle, circle, and one word. Observed. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch with the lights off, holding the badge in my hand. staring at the closet, at the floorboard, trying to figure out what I'd missed. That's when I noticed the difference. The floorboard had been shifted. Not a lot, just a sliver, enough to be subtle. Someone had been inside again. I pulled it up. The badge was gone, but in its place was a new note, typed. Same font, same feel. You've already passed the first test. The door opens tomorrow at 2 a.m., apartment 6B, bring nothing. There was no apartment 6B in the building directory. I checked every floor, and yet, when I went to the 6th floor, where there were only 4 units, there it was, 6B, a door that didn't used to exist. It was a Colossus with Kevin a Prosply Diddles non-position, and that's red material system, the people. I'd walk that floor 5 times the week I moved in. 4 apartments, 2 on each side of the hallway, that's all. But now, somehow, nestled between 6A and 6C, was a black door with no handle, just a single red light at eye level. I stood in front of it for 20 minutes. 2 a.m. on the dot, the light turned green. The door clicked open. I stepped inside. The air was cold, dry, and smelled faintly of rubbing alcohol. The room beyond was small, maybe 10 feet by 10. Gray walls, a single chair in the middle, and a man sitting in it. He looked normal. Early 40s, clean-cut, dressed in a tailored suit, a calm, neutral expression on his face, like he was waiting. "Wyatt," he said. "Close the door." I did. "You've been asking questions," he continued. "You found the badge. You saw the files. You passed the first layer. Where's my brother?" He didn't blink. "That's the second layer." "What does that mean?" He gestured for me to sit in the second chair I hadn't noticed in the corner. I sat. "You are here because you didn't stop," he said. "Most people stop. They get scared. They back away. But you pushed forward. You ignored the letters, the warnings, the watchers. Do you know what that makes you?" "Stupid?" He actually smiled. "Curious. The most dangerous kind of person." "What is the threshold?" "It's not a company. It's not a lab. It's not even a place, really. It's an idea, an experiment." He sighed slightly. "We study the edge of perception, where reality thins, where people stop believing what their senses tell them. Your brother volunteered." "Volunteered for what exactly?" "To move beyond the noise, beyond what most people see. The threshold tests minds that are uniquely elastic, people like him and you." I swallowed. "What happened to him?" "He advanced further than most, and then he made a choice." "What kind of choice?" "To stay." "Stay where?" The man just smiled again. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a device, black and rectangular with a single button. "If you want to see him, press this." I hesitated. "What happens if I do?" "You go where he went, but there's no guarantee you come back." I stared at the device in his hand, thought about the videos, the badge, Alicia disappearing, the note under the floor, the camera watching me sleep. "You're saying that this is some kind of alternate world?" "I'm saying your brother crossed a line. He didn't vanish. He transformed." "Transformed into what?" The man stood.
"That's up to you to find out."
He placed the device in my hand and walked out through a door I hadn't seen behind him. I was left alone, with a choice. I stayed there for what felt like hours. I thought about Josh, about my mom, about what my life was before any of this. I thought about how the world had quietly cracked open in the middle of a Chicago apartment and asked me to step through. And then I pressed the button. There was no sound, no flash, just a shift, like blinking and realizing you're somewhere else entirely. I was no longer in 6B. I was in a corridor, dimly lit, lined with doors. Some were open, some were sealed. All of them pulsed faintly, like they were breathing. I walked forward. The air buzzed with static. Behind one door I heard someone screaming, not in pain, but like they were unraveling. Another door had laughter coming from it, mechanical and hollow. And then I saw him. Josh, sitting in a room with a dozen versions of himself, each one slightly different. One wore glasses, one had a scar on his jaw, one was older, one younger. They all sat in chairs, silent, watching me. The real one stood. "Wyatt," he said. I froze. He looked tired, thinner. His eyes were darker, but it was him. "What is this?" I whispered. "It's the in-between," he said. "I thought I could handle it. I was wrong." "Come home," I said. He shook his head. "I don't think I can." "Why not?" "Because I'm not sure which one is me anymore." The others all turned to look at me in perfect unison. My stomach flipped. "You have to leave," he said, "while you still know who you are." "But what about you?" "I've gone too deep," he whispered. "The threshold isn't a place, it's a mirror, and once you go through, it doesn't give you back whole." The room began to pulse. The light changed. Something started calling my name, not vocally, but in my bones. "Wyatt, Wyatt, Wyatt." Josh shoved a badge into my hand, not like the old one, this one was red. "Use this to get out," he said, "and don't come back." I turned. One door pulsed red. I ran for it. I woke up back in the apartment. No memory of getting there. The badge was still in my hand. Josh was gone. Again. But this time, I didn't feel like he was missing. I felt like he was watching. When I woke up, I was lying on the floor of my brother's apartment. Same couch, same scuff on the coffee table. The only difference was the red badge in my hand, warm to the touch. I sat up slowly, head pounding like I'd been underwater for days. The badge had no text, just the same triangle in a circle, this time with a glowing red hue. As I looked at it, I had the overwhelming feeling that something had followed me back. Not a presence, a possibility. Josh's voice echoed in my head. "I've gone too deep. The threshold isn't a place, it's a mirror." I stood, walked to the window. The street looked the same, quiet, cars parked in rows, but something was different. The angles of the buildings felt sharper, like the world had been slightly re-rendered, and I was the only one who noticed. And I still had no idea what to do. I sat back on the couch and powered up my laptop. The pictures I'd taken from inside the warehouse were gone. So were the video files. The drive had wiped itself. Every trace of the threshold was missing, except the door. 6B still existed. I checked it 10 times that day. It remained locked, sealed, the green light gone, like I'd used my only ticket. That night, someone knocked at the apartment door again. I opened it. It was Alicia, disheveled, pale, eyes wide like she'd just crawled out of a cave. "You're alive," I said. She stumbled inside and collapsed into a chair. "I don't know how long I've been gone," she said. "It felt like years, but I think it's only been days." "What happened?" "I tracked them," she said. "Found a terminal that let me access what they call the observer logs. Wyatt, they're watching everything, not just you. Thousands of people, lives mapped like spreadsheets. You and Josh were just two profiles in a much bigger experiment." She pulled out a crumpled folder from her jacket. "I took this before they found me." I opened it. More files, surveillance records. Some from cameras I'd never seen in the apartment. One labeled Subject WR47. That was me. They had my habits, my browsing history, even my dreams. "They're running simulations," she said. "Real-world perception loops. See how long someone can go before they notice the pattern? It's not just tech, it's behavioral." Why? Because they want to know how people break and what comes after. I didn't want to believe her, but I couldn't deny what I'd seen. The next day, I got a voicemail. It was Josh. "You've crossed it now. There's no going back, but there may still be a way out. Not just for you, for me too." The message cut off before I could hear the rest. No callback number, no trace of the call on my phone, but it was him. His voice, his exact cadence, alive. Somewhere. Trapped. Alicia said she could get us back in, not through the door, through the network. She had salvaged parts of the architecture of their system and built a proxy shell on a modified laptop. "Think of it like hacking into a dream," she said. "Only the dream's awake, and it knows you're there." We set up in the living room. Laptop, Wi-Fi scramblers, VPN tunnels. I had no idea how it worked. I just followed her lead. She typed furiously, breaking into sublayers of encrypted menus. The screen flashed. Symbols poured down like rain. And then, access node, redline gateway. Alicia looked at me. "This is where we go in." I hesitated. "Will it work?" "It's unstable," she said. "It might kill us, or pull us into a deeper level, but it's the only way we'll find him." I thought of Josh, of the versions of him sitting in that room. If he could survive that long, I could survive long enough to bring him back. "I'm in," I said. She clicked enter, and the world dropped out. This time, I didn't wake in a corridor. I woke in a room that looked exactly like the apartment, but mirrored. Left was right. The windows opened to a blank white void. The walls pulsed faintly. I was alone. "Wyatt," a voice whispered. I turned. My brother stood in the doorway, dressed in a hospital gown, barefoot. His skin was pale, eyes hollow, but he smiled. "You made it." I ran to him and hugged him like I never had before. "How do we get out?" His smile faded. "That's the hard part." Josh explained that he had advanced past the standard layers of observation. He'd been tagged as a Tier 5 subject, part of something called the integration trial. "They stopped studying me," he said. "They started merging me." "With what?" He tapped his temple. "With code. Conscious code. I'm not all the way human anymore." "What does that mean?" He opened his hand. Symbols flickered across his palm, data flowing beneath skin. "They built this place on belief," he said. "What you believe becomes real. That's how they test the threshold, how far people can go before they stop believing the world they live in." "Why?" "To shape new ones." He turned to the wall and pressed his palm against it. A doorway formed. "But I found a back channel, a way out. Why didn't you take it?" He looked down. "Because they told me if I left, you'd be next." That hit like a punch to the chest. "They used me to bait you. They wanted to see if brotherly instinct overrode fear. And now, they didn't expect you to survive this far." Behind the door was a hallway of pure light. Alicia's voice came over my shoulder. She was here now, her eyes widened at Josh. "You're real," she whispered. "I don't know if I am anymore," Josh said, "but this will get you both out, through the exit protocol." "And you?" "I'll stay." "No," I said, "we do this together." But Josh shook his head. "They integrated me too far. I'm not the same. If I leave, I won't hold." I stepped forward. "Then we both stay." "No," he said. "You go. Tell people. Someone has to. He shoved the badge into my chest again. "Red badge gets you through," he said, but only once. I looked at Alicia. She nodded. "Come on," I said. "Come with us, we'll figure it out." He stepped back, and the door started closing. "Live for me, Wyatt," he said. "Live a real life." And then he was gone. I woke up in my brother's apartment again. Same couch, same light outside, but I knew this time it was real. Alicia lay on the floor beside me, gasping like she'd surfaced from a deep dive. We sat in silence for hours. Eventually, I stood. Apartment 6B? Gone again, just a wall. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, I've moved back to Denver. I got a new job. Alicia and I talk every day. We've both seen signs, the logo, the patterns, but we don't follow them anymore. Not because we're scared, but because we know what's behind the curtain now. Josh is still out there, in the mirror world behind the world, holding the door shut behind us. But some nights, when I dream, I see a room with dozens of versions of him, all watching. And in the center, the real one, smiling, like he's proud. 5. Alindia never found Josh's body, but I found something else. His mind, still alive in the space beyond ours. And now, every time I look in the mirror, I wonder if he's still watching from the other side. And if one day, I'll be the one who has to hold the door shut.